Here we are, middle of the week. It's Wednesday, February the 26th. The word for you today, our devotional. So shake it off and move forward. Our scripture passage comes from Mark chapter 6, verse 11. It says, if any place, and Jesus is speaking to his disciples, he says, if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, shake the dust off your feet when you leave as a testimony against them. Jesus is sending his 12 apostles out 2 by 2 to spread the gospel message. Jesus gave them 3 instructions. He said, do not take any food, extra clothes, or money with you. Stay at the same place in each town. If any place will not receive you, shake the dust off your feet as you leave. In those days, as a Jew went to a town that's primarily a Gentile town, when they would leave the town, they would also shake the dust off their feet so that they weren't taking any Gentile things with them. It was a way of the Jew remaining a Jew and not having other influences on them. Jesus is preparing his disciples, his apostles. He's preparing them for people who will reject their message. What about us? What should we do if people reject us or the message of salvation that we give to them? Well, first of all, remember, it's not our job to save anybody. It's our job to be the messenger. It's God's job to change hearts. Second thing, try to understand why they're hesitant to believe the gospel message. Excuse me. Couldn't keep any longer. Try to understand why they're hesitant to believe the gospel message. Maybe they've had some bad experiences. Take time to understand that. And then don't be confrontational. People are often afraid of things that they don't understand. Perhaps later, by not being confrontational and creating a problem, perhaps later they'll be more open to the message. Fourth, focus on building a relationship for those open opportunities later. And then pray for them and genuinely care about them. Don't just see them as, okay, I'm going to go share Jesus with this person. What about that person? That's a real live human being. That's a person who has a soul, has a spirit. Care about that person. Remember, we cannot save anybody. God is the one who does that, but we are responsible to give out the message. If someone will not listen to the message, don't just stay there. He says, shake the dust off your feet. Just move on to the next person. Be open to that person coming back, but don't just keep harping on the same person. That person may not ever be interested. Move on to the next person. See, some people are going to see Jesus for who he is, and other people are going to see Jesus in a lot of other different ways. Back in the Old West, while it was being settled, pioneers came from all over to go to California and Oregon looking for gold. In one particular area, on the eastern slopes of the Rocky, there was a large dirt-covered rock that was in the middle of the path, and there were paths through the mountains and through the woods and all, and this big dirt-covered rock was right in the middle of the path. And it was in the way. Wagons would bump against it and break a wheel, or people would trip on it, or it just was creating a problem. Well, it stayed a problem until one day somebody got a shovel and they dug and finally was able to roll this big rock off of the path and fell into a nearby stream. Well, stream was too big for people to step over, but if they stepped on the rock, they could hop over, get across the stream without getting wet. So that happened, and then finally there was a man that came along. He was a homesteader, and he found a home, and he saw this big rock, and he moved it to his house and used it, put it on his front porch, kind of as a doorstop, big doorstop. Well, one day his grandson came to visit him, and His grandson was a geologist. He was studying geology back in the East. And his grandson came and began studying that dirt-covered rock. And you know what he discovered? It was the largest single core of gold found on the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains. Some people saw that big rock in the middle of the path as an obstacle. Some in the stream as a stepping stone. Some saw it as a doorstop, big old rock on the front porch. But here's a man who saw the rock for what it really was, a huge piece of gold. You know, some people are going to see Jesus as an obstacle. Some are going to use him to further themselves in life. Some are going to put him on their coffee table and just leave him laying there and ignore him most of the time. But some will see the value of Jesus. For those who will not listen to the message, okay, maintain a relationship with them, but move on to the next person and tell them about the true Jesus and who Jesus really is and what he can do for them, what he's done for you. Have a good day.